I'll go ahead and do a roll call. Mrs. Harden? Ms. Heredia?
Present.
Secretary Terrazas? Okay, Vice President Guadiana? And I'm here. That moves us to board norms. Actively listen to all perspectives.
Close the loop, responding to concerns and questions as a unified board.
Model the professionalism we accept from all members of the district and community customer service orientation.
Assume positive intent.
And be positive and responsive. That moves us to Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone could please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Okay, that moves us to item 2, adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
Did Mr. Corey have any changes?
Did he have any recommendations? You want to get him on his cell phone? Just in case. Okay,
I make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that passes. That moves us to item 3, public input. Item A, public input on agenda items. Is there anyone here that'd like to give public input on agenda items? Is there anyone online, Caitlin? Okay. What about public input items of concerns? Okay. Moves us to item 4, administration principals / directors reports. Item A, supervisor of food services, Mrs. Alma Grijalva. Ours have red and yours no? I didn't know. I didn't notice that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members, President Begay, Mr. Corey, Enrollment for October 2024 is 942. Bayard has 157, Central Elementary 132, Hurley 114, Sanlo 76, Snell Middle 203, and Cobre High School 260. For the month of September, the Student Nutrition Department provided 13,407 breakfasts, 13,855 lunches, total of 27,262 meals combined, along with 7,818 snacks. 698 meals were provided to the students taking part in the Generation Genius and Lego Robotics, the after-school program, along with 32 23 snacks provided to the yoga club. I have provided a copy of the annual food establishment inspection report that I just gave you all. All sites were inspected. 5 sites had no findings, with the exception of Cobre.
So with Cobre, I thought we had gotten a new cooler or walk-in system. Is that not the case?
But that's not, we didn't get dinged for that. But I hear it's there, but it hasn't, still not working. Our freezer's not working at Cobre.
So we
Not yet.
got a new one, but it's not working.
Right, and then they had to get parts, and they had to get this, and they had to get that, and we're still without a freezer at Cobre.
So do you know which company it was? Which vendor? So we can, is it under warranty?
They checked, Jasmine checked the warranty, and there is no warranty.
Did it
It's
ever
already,
work?
it worked for a while. To me, I think, I don't know, because the inside is what freezes right at the edge of the, like in back of the units.
Uh-huh.
Like if water seeps in, and it happens when it rains, when it snows or anything different, the weather changes or
And the
something, and
humidity is
everything.
high.
Right, and that's what makes everything
Freezes the-
freeze, and it stops working.
That could be,
And ice, there's ice buildup. So, but the reason that we got dinged by the health department was the tiles on the floor, so. And that's like it says right there, it's repetitive.
Has it been addressed yet? The tiles are now replaced?
No,
No? So it hasn't been addressed?
it's been addressed. I mean, and I've made work orders, and this is
No, I
an
mean-
ongoing thing.
No, I mean, you've done it on your end, but it
Oh,
hasn't
yes,
been
but
taken
it hasn't
care of
been
on the
taken care
other
of.
end?
No, not yet.
And who takes care of that end?
She would put in
Maintenance.
a work order and then maintenance.
Yeah, I put in
Maintenance?
work orders, and then
And the maintenance does
Right.
it?
How long ago
Isn't
was?
that-
oh,
I'm sorry, Mrs. Harden.
Isn't that a priority?
you would think,
the,
you would think my freezer's a priority.
Do you know how long since you put in the work order?
Repetitive? Gosh. I went back at least 2 years, and there's been work orders. So it's not something that just happened yesterday or the day before, or,
so when did you get it? This was a new freezer?
this isn't new, oh, what, the freezer?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
the
thought we were
freezer?
talking about the tiles,
Oh, okay, no, okay, we're talking about,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Okay.
okay. So it's,
The inspector just came, what?
It said September 20th
That's it,
or 10th. I think it was the 10th.
Or 12. September 12th.
different.
you mentioned it in the last time you made a presentation.
9/12/2024.
Yeah. So the floors have been in disrepair for 2 years
Or longer.
with multiple,
Is it like the tiles in the classroom? We're probably gonna have to put brand new flooring. 'Cause the
Well-
same problem is happening in my classroom in Silver Schools. They'll go and buff it and the tiles will just come out. And they've replaced them a bunch of times. I think we're gonna have to look at new flooring. If that's a repeat offense.
have also the extinguisher system in the grill.
They're tagged.
Okay, so that's still an ongoing one as well.
I think we've got Colby, Snell. That are tagged. I mean, I know Colby's old and stuff, but,
Mr. Corey, we're talking about the tiles and freezer at Cobre High. Ms. Grijalva said she's been putting in a work order for the tiles to get replaced. Do you know what's holding up that process?
I do not.
Can you send out an email, make that a high priority?
Do that.
And then also looking into this freezer, because I think we've spent a big chunk of money on it.
And the extinguisher system at the high school, also it's now? Okay, over the cooking areas.
I know we have a company, coming in to work to the systems that came out in our fire operations.
Do you know when they're expected to come out to do the work?
I do not know that. I'm not sure if they've already been or soon.
Okay, will you get that information to us too?
Yes, I will.
Does anyone have any other questions? I just had a question. It's down on new business, but would you mind answering it now? Or do you want to wait till new business? So I had a couple parents reach out to me about milk. So kids bring their lunch to school, but they'd like to have milk. And they said there's an associated cost with that. Can you tell me why?
Because they are not, if they were to take their lunch tray, come to the line, get their meal, take their lunch tray, and go eat it, even if they bring their lunch from home, it's okay. But this way, it has to be, we have to have some kind of a cost.
The reason being is that it needs to be part of reimbursable trade.
It just doesn't make sense that they could go get a tray, throw it away, and get their free milk. But it just seems like we're wasting food.
Right.
Who can we talk to about that?
I contacted it because I knew it was coming up.
Will you get me that number too? Cause
And I, this was a memo that I sent. Good afternoon, we have students at a school in our district that bring a sack lunch from home every day. These students are taking milk on the daily without a reimbursable tray. It has been brought to all the parents' attention to parents that students who do not choose to receive a reimbursable tray must purchase a milk. This is what we have been told in the past trainings, all these, and we go up there. Please send guidance as to where this language can be found, as the issue has been taken to the Board of Education. Thank you. She wrote back to me, Ms. Trista Wright, and she put, "Good afternoon, Emma. You are absolutely correct. Unless the students take the entire reimbursable meal, they may not take a meal only."
So do we advise the students that they get the milk free if they take the whole tray and toss it?
Yes.
And they choose not to?
Okay, and so with that being said, a reimbursable trade means that they need to take, we offer 5 items, 5 components. Of the 5, they need to take 3. Of the 3, one of them has to be either a fruit or a veggie. So the student can come to the line and get a milk, a fruit, and a veggie, if that's all they want. They don't have to take the entree. They don't have to take the breadstick. They don't have to take, they can choose what items they would like on that tray.
I just think that's crazy that they can get a tray, throw it away, and have milk. We're wasting food.
But that being said, have you advised these parents?
The parents were,
The parents that these kids,
we
I mean,
send out memos and stuff, and she's a manager there at Bayard, that's where this thing keeps on reoccurring.
So when they ask for milk, why don't we just hand them a tray that has all the 3?
Because they choose not to take the tray, they choose not to come through the line. They just come
How do
in.
they get the milk?
They just go to the milk bin. On top of that, we also have a share bin that sits on the side that they can go and pick from it. And they don't. That's what the share bin is for. You take the milk and you don't want it, so you put it in there. She comes and she can take it. She
It's also
chooses
a
to.
requirement to reduce waste.
Do we have any other funds, Mr. Ryan, to cover the cost of the milk for the kids, so we're just not throwing that food away?
Is it even charged to us?
It has to come from someone because, we have to pay for the milk and we get reimbursed for each meal that's served, we get reimbursed from the state.
So we're reporting that people are taking only milk and therefore we're incurring this cost.
No, the state is not allowing it to happen. According to the memo what I'm at, the state is not allowing it.
So the state would rather have food thrown away, so kids could get a milk.
And we're avoiding waste.
So it is. So on the shared bin, they can grab a free milk.
A
If-
milk, a
if
fruit, or whatever's
whatever's
there.
available to
Maybe
them
we
in
need to
that
have a
bin.
share bin, like, more accessible, I don't know.
That's what I'm thinking.
Front and don't,
We have this red part. It's like smack dab in the middle. But, I mean, we could, and we have a little poster that says shared bin, maybe we could make a bigger poster.
yeah.
And then maybe
Is the
can,
shared bin, is it cool?
Yes.
So it is
Okay.
cool.
Yes, yes.
So can we say, when they go pick up a milk, can't we say, you know what, no, we need to go get a milk from over there? They don't know, do they really know the difference?
Well, and that being that there's a milk there to get. If they
Oh,
go at the
sometimes-
beginning of lunch,
That's true.
You know
There's
what I
not
mean?
milk yet.
right.
Yeah, it needs to start building up,
Yeah,
as
right.
the kids come through.
Yeah, I guess that's what I would be like, no, go get a milk, and if there's not a milk yet, and I can see
Why,
the issue.
why isn't there a milk yet?
Because
It's the beginning of the line just started
And nobody, we haven't had any discarded
yeah,
milk yet,
or
right?
anything else that they
So
don't
they,
want.
that was the first that was the first group of kids that went in, and everybody wanted their milk, or they,
Right.
right?
or like say they didn't want their apple, then they put their
Right,
apple in the shared
So that's
bin.
the discarded bin for kids who don't wanna drink the milk or eat the piece of fruit. So
Or the
instead of throwing it
gelatin, or
away
anything
in
that's
a trash
closed,
can, they go
cheese
put it in
stick,
a
anything.
container. But the first lunch, you're not gonna have a whole lot of discarded milks yet.
But every student qualifies for free lunch, correct?
Exactly.
So why don't they take it?
Why can't they just take the milk?
It's the state and they can. He's right.
We understand the frustration. We get it.
Absolutely.
You think you could send out another parent square at Bayard, just so they know, like, they want their kids to get a milk, just, they can get 3 items, you know? Lay it out, cause that's where the complaints are mostly coming from.
We can absolutely.
Okay, sounds good.
And
We'll try it and see.
do they have a place that they can go just for the 3 items?
The line.
So they
We
go,
have the offer versus serve. They can choose what they want on that tray,
so,
as long as it's a reimbursable tray when they passes the cashier or
so they don't go through the line now?
no, they're just coming through, coming in, grabbing the milk and.
They're just not wanting to wait in line, that's the whole thing behind it, as a kid, it's not wanting to wait 5 minutes for the line to go through.
Especially if he has a lunchbox.
Already.
Mhm.
And it's the same.
Same 3 kids.
There's no milk built up by then, on those 3 kids. We can't save the milk from Monday to the next. If you have any leftover, you know.
Yeah,
like
like
that.
they share it one day and
Then keep it the next day.
those were the shared ones.
See what I'm saying? Like if you had an extra 5 left over from the day before, can we put those out that first
Following
lunch?
day.
That's something we're gonna have to ask.
Because how would they get in there? I mean, they have to come through that reimbursable tray.
I think it comes down to just telling them, like, you can get this milk for free if you can wait an extra 4 minutes,
Yeah,
5
5
minutes, and get your veggie. If you don't want it, put it in the shared bin, and you're good to go.
Now, my next question is, what do you do with the share bin, with all the extras that are left over?
Well, kids can get from that
Yeah,
shared
they can
bin.
Yeah,
get from that.
but if there's leftover, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we were saying for the next day, can't you put that out at the beginning, so there is milk the first 4 minutes, right? So they don't have to wait those 4 minutes until we have food.
I think that would be actually a really good idea,
idea.
but we have
Have
to
to
ensure.
get approval.
Yeah.
One thing I just wanna ask
about that one, just brought some complaints too about, I don't know if you three got any ever from the spoiled milk or the cheese or things, like, does it get that because
So that's the way it comes in from the vendor.
I don't know, but we're having that problem.
We are,
I didn't know if it went from like things,
And
I
I've
guess
already-
warm and then we put it back in the thing and.
Never, never, ever can do that. And they come from the refrigerator truck, but it's coming like that from the dairies.
There's nothing we can do
There's
about it.
nothing. I've tried vendors, changing vendors and all.
But
going
tell
back
your
and forth.
students, go and ask them for another meal. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We'll give them another
Yeah,
one,
we
tell them
do.
shake it really good,
We
and let
do.
them taste it.
So, if we were to eat those costs, no pun intended, how much would that be?
It all depends.
What's the charge for a meal?
It's 75 cents. So let's say we have 10 kids a day,
$7.50.
$7.50 a day. Times for the week, times for the month, times for the
Times
whole
for
year.
having to keep it, having to make receipts for it, having to have it accounted for. There's the personnel time involved in that.
I still think our better option is just to tell the kids, grab
Yeah.
this, and
Of course, we even get reimbursed
e-
for that.
exactly.
And we use, I'm trying to look at little, kindergartners, they also take their lunch and some of them will also go get,
Well, yeah, 'cause they're hungry.
Yeah.
Yes, they're hungry, yeah. Those are the ones that you know are ready to eat.
But you know, we do have a training, that's my next, from New Mexico Ped, they'll be here on, November 1st.
Okay,
To provide, professional standard training to the student nutrition department, and it's gonna consist of the SB4. Because of that, we have to have this training.
okay.
So we can bring up these, because we're gonna do share tables, the New Mexico drone, and presentation of, healthy kids, presented by New Mexico Department of Health,
So
we
can,
ask these questions.
can we just send out another parent square though, to like get the milk situation situated? And then maybe go district-wide, so parents know. And they quit posting on Facebook and calling us, and so we can get it situated. Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
So our annual Thanksgiving dinner will be held on Thursday, November 7th. Tickets for the dinner can be purchased in the front office of any one of the district's office between the hours of 9 to 2. Adult tickets are $12, and child's ticket for one not enrolled in the district can be purchased for $8. Last day for ticket sales is Thursday, October 31st. The Golden Chili Award, I had talked about this a lot, is scheduled for Thursday, October 24th from 2 to 6 at the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center in Albuquerque. The New Mexico Grown Coalition, the New Mexico Food and Agriculture Policy Council, and Farm to Table are excited to host the first ever in-person Golden Chili Award ceremony. So this is the first time that it's ever going to be done. The first joint sponsor ceremony is being held, which is right now during the month of October, from the Farm to School month, and will honor 66 Golden Chili Awards throughout the state.
You guys still going?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Back in August, I mentioned to you that the Kobe district had been selected to participate in a USDA national study to be performed by Mathematica Research. Do you recall it? We didn't know what it was. Bayard Elementary and Snell Middle School have been the lucky ones to be selected to participate. We have been attending virtual and via phone weekly meetings, and I have Samantha, manager at Snell, and Stephanie, manager at Bayard, who will be in charge of providing any and all documents needed and be the point of contact for this study. I don't know if you have questions for them, they're here.
What exactly is being studied?
Good evening, board members, President Pagay. Mr. Corey, good evening. Okay, so the Mathematicas is a research company conducting a USDA national school food study. Our school district's involvement helps create a complete picture of the school food environment. With better data comes better policy, allowing USDA to make informed decisions that affect our schools and student meals. It has been over 10 years since this study last took place. There are 200 districts nationwide that will be participating in this study. In New Mexico, Cobre is one of only 4. The Cobre School District was chosen randomly through the USDA database. Our part of the study will be focusing on student nutrition, student meal program participation, and school environment. You will be notified late November, early December about the target and date confirmation. So they're gonna come in and they are going to do a study, they're gonna conduct a study. They're going to, see how many of our students are participating in our National School Lunch Program. They're going to they're gonna survey the students, they would like to send, I don't know, I think out to the community, out to the families as well, and see what they're liking, what they're disliking, what, their preferences are. And that's really pretty much it, yeah.
And then trying to fine tune their policies after the study, like what they can
Right,
do better.
Right.
Like this
right.
milk situation,
Not-
perhaps.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
And this is through USDA, okay?
Okay.
If they have this research group, mathematics, that's gonna do it.
okay.
And Mr. Corey's gonna have to sign off on an MOU before they come in and everything else. And he's already, I made him aware of that.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
The money, I have a quick question. The money for the Thanksgiving dinners, when the families purchase the ticket for the Thanksgiving, I've received a few comments and concerns as far as the price, that it's just a little bit high, especially, in this particular community. Not a lot of families can afford that, and a lot of the families are large families, and I think that the price can be a little difficult when you have a bigger family and you want to bring the siblings and, mom and dad or grandma or grandpa or whatever it may be. It can certainly add up to a lot. And the comments and the feedback I was just receiving were, how do they come up with that price? Because it hasn't always been $12. And then where does the money go once the families have bought the tickets? Like, where do those funds go? Do they go back to the food services?
It gets
Okay.
deposited day of.
Okay.
Day of. We get the count from the secretaries, because the secretaries are doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And, we do the deposit and straight to the bank, and then we get receipts straight.
Okay. And is that what determines the cost of the ticket?
Well, what determines the cost of the ticket is that everything is so expensive. Everything's gone up, tremendously.
Because they still get a child portion, right?
The adults?
The adults, they get
portion.
an adult portion.
Mhm.
Okay.
And it's the turkey, it's the mashed potatoes, it's the green beans, it's the yams, it's the fresh roll, it's the pumpkin pie, it's the cranberry sauce, what else? And their drink, tea. So it's the stuffing, the dressing. So it's a good size tray.
So the cost is due to inflation. Cost of groceries.
Wow.
Is this new that there's adult-sized meals now? Because when I used to attend those, they were very much exactly the same as the kids were getting.
No, it's always been. We have portion sizes for the students, and we give the adults a little bit more.
But I think the question about what happens with the money, is it not so much that it's deposited someplace, what is it used for?
Or whatever we need to pay from food service and stuff. Frank is the one that takes care of that. I give him every,
Cover the cost of the food.
Okay.
food, equipment, supplies, staff.
How would that be an increase in those costs? Other than the food, the staff and the supplies and everything else would pretty much be the,
No, I think,
Well,
It's the price of the product, that's the big increase of revenue for total. But what they're saying is that there's all this overhead, but price of the food is the big part. Product.
And the teachers as well pay the same, is it $12
Everybody.
for teachers? And on a
But if
regular
once-
day, how much does a
$4.
teacher have to pay?
So from $4 to $12?
3 times the amount. But I could also see,
Maybe their children's school can help them pay, you know, through their fundraisers and everything else that they do.
a tray on a normal day? We haven't got the prices yet. I think last year, well,
I paid $350 last year, but it wasn't an adult portion, it was a student portion. And we didn't get no pie.
That is my report.
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, next we have our Coordinator of Technology, Caitlin Church. And ladies, if you need to go, feel free to go spend time with your families or go to that homecoming game. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam President, distinguished board members, Mr. Corey, thank you for allowing me to speak to you tonight for a couple of minutes. Last report was rather sunny. This one isn't as much. Main reason is my help's leaving. After a year here, Benjamin Salas, who has been the computer technician that's really allowed me to get everything done that I've done in the past year, he's stepping away and taking position at the hospital. Tomorrow will be his last day. So I want to put it on record. Ben Salas, thank you for the year that you gave me because you have allowed me to accomplish so much. With that, there are some other hiccups and just speed bumps we've had. Lexia we've had issues with that instructional learning program this year, and we are working with Lexia. They have admitted it's their fault, and they're trying to figure out why, so we're trying to get that fixed.
Does that come with a discount? Because it impacts our student learning and we pay a good chunk of money to them. So I feel like they should reimburse us for the time that our students can't use that program.
I will talk to our salesperson to see if that's possible, but I've been dealing with tech support, and like they always say, we don't deal with money.
Okay, well, I'd really like that looked into.
Okay, I will. I will definitely do that. On the positive side, the second week of November, I'll be up in Albuquerque at the New Mexico Technology and Education Conference. I've been asked to be a presenter this year as part of that conference, so I hope I have someone trained well enough to cover me for those 3 days while I'm out. And we're also coming up to the last week to get bids in for the server and storage RFP that we put out. And once we hit that deadline next week, hopefully we can schedule that so we can find a winner there so we can get that taken care of before Christmas.
Okay.
Any questions for me tonight? I know that report was kind of brief, but I mean, I'm just plugging along, fixing things every day, and so beyond that, it's not a lot to report.
Just congratulations on being able to present at a conference.
Well,
That's
thank you.
awesome.
I think that's a very good reflection on us, but I'm worried about if there isn't anybody here for 3 days, if
Well,
something happens.
we do have interviews scheduled for next week to fill Mr. Salas's position, and if everything goes as planned, we'll have somebody selected before the end of next week, and then hopefully within 2 weeks, have them onboarded, and all 3 of the candidates we'll be interviewing have years of experience, so it won't take as long to get them up and running as it did Mr. Salas.
Okay. I hope that works.
I hope it does too, because I really am passionate about this topic that I submitted to speak about, so.
I wonder if we could talk to Silver and see if those 3 days, if we don't have someone, if they'd be willing to lend support
I can always ask, but,
All they can tell you is no.
well, they have to answer the phone first. Every time I've called the tech department over in Silver since I've been here, I get voicemail.
Just go stop by Caitlin and introduce yourself and say, hey, I need a favor. I'm your neighbor from across the way in Cobre.
I will do that. And it-
Or call from a different number.
Call Dr. Hawkins and say, you know, hey, if you, and talk to him, because he's ultimately in charge of the staffing.
That's an idea there.
And maybe Mr. Corey can help out in that end.
I was about to say, I know we got in a bond, you'll help us in a second.
Yeah, I'm sure they would, and I just find it odd every time I call over to the tech department in Silver, nobody answers, so. So, any other questions for me tonight?
Thank you.
Okay. Y'all have a wonderful evening.
You too.
You do the same.
Okay, that moves us to C, Principal of Hurley Elementary. We can take the microphone to you. Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm good.
We're gonna tell everybody you got up and you walked to the podium.
Okay, good evening, Madam President, board members, Mr. Corey. A lot of good things happening at Hurley Elementary. I know last time when I got to present, I hadn't yet submitted my dash plan. I know we talked a little bit about where I was with that. So our first page is about our district and school goals. We always want to promote our district vision and have that coincide with our school goals. So I'll be talking about our MLSS plan, our dash plan, and then as an administrators, all of the principals in the district are attending and participating in the Thrive professional development. It's a 2-year commitment, and how that has been something else that's helping us to fulfill our goals and reach our potentials. So the next document is our MLSS. So I just wanted you guys to see where, and this is what we did. They really recommend that you go through the self-reflection with your teachers. So I did this with all of my teachers for PLC. Okay. That's it. Oh, it's green. Oh, no, it's red. It's red, it's green, it's red. Thank you, Caitlin. So I just wanted you to see where we evaluated ourselves. And so if you look through this, of course it has our focus goals, our desired outcomes, but you'll see where we highlighted where our lowest ones areas were. And it was our layer 1, layer 2, layer 3 interventions, MLSS interventions. And that's not to say that our teachers weren't doing them, but we didn't have a good system of documenting. Our teachers are really good at pulling teacher tables, doing interventions, but we really have to be intentional with the curriculum that we're using for those interventions, and like I say, make sure that we're doing them with fidelity and we have that documentation. So with that, they're really trying to get MLSS and DASH together as one. So they're getting closer to putting it. I'm hoping, from what I'm hearing, is it may be one thing soon. But we are seeing how they're connecting. So using that information from our MLSS and our other data, we put it into our DASH plan. And so our desired outcomes are our layer 1 instruction for ELA and math. And it's the same goal for both. First semester, we're focusing on the layer 1, and that's core instruction and doing those differentiated small group instructions. And so you'll see that we have critical actions, and a lot of things happen in our PLCs, looking at data, finding those students that we're going to identifying for interventions. One of the other things was that we're going to have to find a non-evaluative rubric for walkthroughs. And so in doing so, that's where going to our Thrive training has really helped me out, because as a principal, it starts with a principal. Everything starts at the top. So what we're learning at our Thrive training is that when we need to do more frequent walkthroughs, and that's something that we committed to in our DASH plan, that we're going to go in and that we're going to be giving more feedback, and we're going to be doing coaching cycles and just being very much intentional with our teachers, as our teachers are with our students, with their intentional teaching. So what we're learning is that they don't want us to go in, as much as we want to be efficient and quick, and because we have a lot to do, they don't want any checklists when you go into a classroom to do observations. What they want is to have student data and teacher data. So they gave us an example of a walkthrough, and so what I did is I just kind of made it our own, and I added my own so I could just plug in numbers, and I can take really good data and put evidence in there. And so you'll see the two walkthroughs. What's so awesome about these walkthroughs is what they're teaching us is that we should be looking at two components, at the teaching observation and the learning observation. What is the teacher doing? What are the students doing? So we need to capture that data, and it's hard to capture two different types of data. And so I try to make it as efficient as I could for me. And this is something that I'm able to do. Maybe I won't get to all the boxes for the observational data. That's a 2-pager. The other one, this is the walkthrough that I'll do that's geared to our DASH plan. And that's our layer 1, layer 2 intervention. So I'll go into the classroom, and when teachers are doing their small group, I'll use this rubric and this walkthrough form. And so, they want teachers to have specific data. This isn't anything, like I say, it's just for them to drive their learning. So it tells you this many students were doing this, or you chose this many students, this is how many turn-in talks you had. It's just very specific. So this is something else that I went over with my teachers in our PLCs. We discussed it, we changed it, we modified it. And so they know exactly what they are, the look-fors. And the great thing I told my teachers are, these are things you already do. So, but now you're going to have the data, really strong data, so that you can make the changes or you can enhance. So it's just, this is something that's going to make me a better principal, make our teachers better teachers, and hopefully really increase our student learning as well. Do you have any questions on any of that so far? Okay. So one thing that, like when we met with CLSD today, that's one thing that I feel very, very fortunate that we have finally come to the point where all of this is making sense to us, that MLS dash, because it was all, I'll be honest, dash plan was something that was really difficult for our principals when we first started 5 years ago. And I've become a better administrator throughout the years, I feel. And so I feel like I'm really using this data, this information, to move our vision forward. And then with our principal training that we have in Albuquerque, it's just really enhancing our goals. So I felt like this year, like we really got started on the right foot where our goals, like we started like running from day one. So that's something I'm really happy about. Okay, now on to our data. This is our iStation data and our benchmark assessments. At the bottom, you'll see where everybody was, kinder through 5th grade, and you could already see in October how much growth we've had. Kindergarten, they're already up in the 70 percentile for proficiency, 12% growth. 1st grade, they went from 47 to 52. Third, 2nd grade, 35 to 72. They had the most growth, 37. 69 to 87, and 66 to 84, and 66 to 81%. So we've been doing really good with our scores, and really proud of our students and our teachers. We're really moving those kids that are at risk up into the yellow, and our yellows into the greens. Okay, next we have our math. We're making great gains, but you're going to see, from kindergarten, 47 to 67. So we have our 20% growth there, and then 18% growth in our first grade. Second grade is where we're really focusing on. What we do have in our second grade, we got a new teacher a week before school started. This teacher has taught 4th and 5th and middle school, so this is a big downshift for her to go to second grade, learning new curriculum, but also learning our structured literacy curriculum. But we have a plan in place, and we're focusing on some specific skills and looking at maybe another program that we're going to use to help those second graders with those math scores. But she did move those kids, some of the kids at risk. She moved from 36 to 29. So we're seeing a decrease in those at-risk kids and bumping up the yellow. And then hopefully, that might go slow to go fast, but we do know that's our area of need, and we are addressing it. Okay, the next is our IMESA benchmark data. And so 3rd, 4th, and 5th in reading, 12, 31, and 17% proficient. And we know, based on where we're growing in our iStation, that we're going to grow also in our IMESA come middle of the year benchmark. We do know that IMESA is so much more rigorous than iStation, very much more rigorous. So we're looking forward to seeing what our results will be. But lots of students are ready. If you look at the 56, 62, and 78, all the kids that are nearing target, those are our bubble kids. There was many of them that were 3 and 4 and 5 points away from being proficient. So we know that we're going to see really good things in the middle of the year. Going to the next one is our language arts. And we're doing pretty good with this one as well. We have a lot more students proficient in the language usage area, and we have a lot of kids there waiting in the near target, which we know that we'll be able to bump up as well. Math, we know that this is our weak point. I know that we're seeing a lot of red here, and I want you to look at the 4th graders. That's 85% of students at risk. Last year, when those kids were in 3rd grade, they were 92% at risk. And by the end of the year last year, those 3rd graders, only 8 were at risk. So we know this about this class if we're looking at cohorts. So we know that, they started off, a lot of them at risk again, but we know that we'll be able to move them as well. We'll just keep working. We know that math is always been a concern in our school, in our district, in our state, but we're gonna stay on top of it. The next data is our star reading, and this was just something I printed. It actually has all the district, and so I'm not sure if everybody in the district has tested for, I think they said the high school tests once a month. We test every 9 weeks, and so I'm happy to say we're leading the pack in proficiency in the district right now at 53%. Our students are, Hurley has always been an accelerated reader school. We love our AR, our kids love it. And so they love to always take their STAR test because they want to know what reading level they get to go to next. So that's always an exciting assessment for them to take as well. So some of the recent Hurley happenings, you have a list of things there, but I really want you to take a look at some of those pictures there because this was our first Revere, our first house activity. We only do house activities once a month. I know some of the schools do weekly. We choose to do once a month because we do not want to cut into instruction time. When we do something every week, it does take a lot from there. And so for our first one, we partnered with the high school. And I'll talk a little bit more about it later too, but we decided that we're going to have house presidents. the 5th grade, okay? And so Miss Salcido turned it into a project. She says, even if you're not going to run for president, everyone's going to write a persuasive essay of why you should be chosen as president. And in doing so, she came to me and she said, every single one of my students wants to be a president. And so what Revere did is they got in touch with a high school, and Mrs. Gutierrez's history class just happened to be making their own books about presidents. And they were really, really nice books. So the high school history class came and they read their books and they talked to every single student of our school about what are the characteristics of a good leader to tie into our House president things. Because next week we're going to be doing our House speeches and our voting. And this it helps coincide with our election year, right? And so I hope you could get onto Facebook and just kind of see the videos and how well the high school taught our littles about this, and just great conversations. So part of our activity was the learning, and then of course we played games, and the high schoolers helped us with the games, and so it was really awesome to have that collaboration. And of course our kids love our high schoolers, and they're so good about remembering what it's like to be in elementary and just really pumping up our kids. So there's, a lot of good things happening. We're also participating in our Level Up Challenge with the NMPED, and the kids loved that last year. They remembered it, so we're really tracking that data too. The next page is other things that are going on is our after-school program. We do our Lego robotics and we do our Generation Genius. Both classes are completely full and our kids are having a blast, especially with our Lego robotics, where they do coding, they make their robots move, they put music to them. It's very high level. It's supposed to only be 4th and 5th, but we included 3rd grade, and those little 3rd graders are just rocking it. So, and the 5th graders are just being really, really great models for those 3rd graders and helping them out. That our initiative also with our SPED department is that we are going to start full inclusion and also co-teaching. And so, we jumped in immediately into the co-teaching. And so you see a picture there of our SPED teacher doing a small group and our 5th grade teacher doing a small group. And they plan together. They're just doing a really great job. And so they're getting more face time from these teachers and just really good direct instruction. Those are what you're seeing in that picture is a guided reading group and building on their vocabulary. They were learning about text features in that. So I know all of that is helping to build their comprehension and make them be stronger readers. We also have some of our enrichment classes, teachers teaching outside, and just really finding different ways to engage our students. To the right, we have our kindergarten boot camp fashion show, which is just the cutest thing ever. Look on our Facebook page for that too, and you'll see the most adorable kiddos in the world. So they're doing really, really great, our kinders. Our next picture here is, it's a big fat incentive for our kids. We have secretary and principal for a half day. I really want you to get on our Facebook page and watch our little Miss Hunter Molina. Because I sat down with her and I debriefed with her and I gave her a walkthrough sheet, and she ran with it and she documented everything. She gave feedback immediately to the teachers, and it was really great feedback. And of course we videotaped it. I gave their teachers their official walkthrough from Hunter, and they appreciated it and they posted it up. And Hunter always wanted to be a teacher, and now she wants to be a principal as well. So this is how we grow our kiddos. And then we have our little Marisela Muniz there. She got to be Miss Anto for the day, so we also got her lovely nails to match Miss Anto. And so it was really good. So the second 9 weeks, we chose the student with the most growth in reading and the student with the most growth in math, and those will be our secretary and principal for a half day. So it's a really big incentive for them. That costs nothing, I might add, but super fun for them and a memory that they'll always have. So these are some upcoming things that are happening at Hurley. As I stated, the House presidents that we're going to have, like I said, speeches next week, are voting on Wednesday. The role of a House president is they're going to have lunch dates with our K through 4 students to build relationships and get feedback and input for House activities. They're going to participate in our PAC meetings and our school board meetings. We have Red Ribbon Week coming up and our parade coming up, our Halloween Carnival. Teacher fun, all of our teachers at our elementary are going to dress up as a favorite book. So we're just going to keep into that learning is fun and reading is fun. Mrs. Pedraza, Senora Pedraza, always does an amazing job with her Dia de los Muertos presentations. Amistad hosts their activity this next Thursday. We have our carnival and, of course, our trunk or treat at Cobre High School. And lastly, we've been loving our RCA initiative. And Isabindi, where's my Isabindi people out there? We are rocking it. And Charlene. And so our students are getting points with attendance, lunch, enrichments, teachers, following our essential rules. We've broken it down because there's so many to 12 each 9 weeks so that we can be very intentional and really put those into practice. After every single lunch, from the first lunch and second lunch, they all sit by houses and they get awarded a point for their house at the end of every single lunch. So, gosh, our lunches are so nice and lovely right now because they really bought into the house system and the points. So that is what's going on at Hurley Elementary. Do you have any questions?
What day were the speeches?
On Tuesday.
On Tuesday, what time?
First thing in the morning at 7:50. So what's going to happen are all the kids are going to get their trays, and they'll go to, Isabindi will go to one room, Revere, and so on, go to their own room. And while they're eating breakfast, they're going to be listening to the speeches for their house. Again, we're trying not to disrupt our teaching time because RCA, we want to go all out, but we cannot lose track of what we need to do. And so in the beginning, we kind of saw that and we're like, okay, how can we do both? How can we keep this excitement and this engagement, but not lose instruction time? So that's where we are with that.
I'd like to comment that this is an excellent report. We appreciate it.
Thank
and
you.
I like the data that you're sharing. And along that data, one of the things that we want these reports for is to find areas where we can be of assistance. The math scores, do you have any particular things that you could use to get the math scores up higher?
Yes, as I stated, Mrs. Sanchez, she taught at the middle school, and I was fortunate to also be a parent in her classroom. Last year, my daughter was in her class, and she used the program IXL. And so I really got to, for parent-teacher conference, she really went in there and showed me what Saya was weak in, how she used that program to fill in those gaps and build her up, and how far she came from here to here. So I got to hear about that all last year. So, we get $200 for our teachers to spend. So she wants to spend that $200, and whatever's the difference, we'll pay for it. And so she really wants to try that program as well as a supplement so she could start filling in those gaps for those students. And so, we're going to get that program here up and running here pretty soon. And then we also have Rose McNeil. She is a fellow at our school, and she's also a math intervention. We're using her as a math interventionist. We were using her as a math interventionist for the upper grades, but we're probably going to bring her down to work on some of these skills with our second grade as well.
So Ms. McNeil is a fellow?
She is a fellow.
Where is she in her studies? Do you know?
I think she's pretty close. I think she's maybe a year out.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's amazing. She really is.
So this is being used across all the grades in Hurley for math? Or
For math, mostly at 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We're targeting those specific students right now because we hadn't seen, we wanted to see where everyone fell, first of all, these first few months. But we're like, let's target these because there's so much more gaps at the upper grades that we wanted to see what we could fill in quickly. She felt comfortable starting there as well. And so we knew after a few months that we may have to make adjustments as necessary, and she's so flexible and willing to jump in wherever she needs to jump in with. So we're already going to fit in where we need to use her best.
Cool. Are there any other resources you may need?
No, I don't think so. Like I say, it's a little bit of a learning curve for Mrs. Sanchez. She's having to learn and downshift to second grade. And but we have an amazing second grade class, and they are just really becoming more independent learners. They were very needy initially coming out of first grade, and it's a good jump going to second grade. And you're expected to be a little bit more independent. Ms. Begay knows where you have to start getting them ready for third grade, and it's a big step. So,
My last question, the inclusion part, are teachers being well supported in what it is they need to do with students that are coming from special ed?
absolutely, yes. It's you are more than welcome to come to our school to see our SPED staff in action because it is pretty awesome. Every SPED teacher has a teacher table in the classroom, so they're not just in their glorified teacher's aide. They're in there for a purpose, and so they have their teacher table in the classroom. Like, take for instance our first grade. There's 2 teacher tables in there for a SPED teacher. The teacher has a teacher table. One of the SPED teachers has hers here, and the other one is over here. They both do guided reading groups. It's 3 teachers in there, and that first grade classroom needs that much support in there. So it's been really good. It's been really, really good.
Thank you very much.
If I have time, would it be possible to stop on Tuesday to hear some of them?
Absolutely. We love for you to stop by.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yes. And I know those 5th graders will love to see you too.
Yeah, I'd love to see them.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have, and this is outside of that actually. Last session we had a presentation from the middle school principal, Ms. Begay, and she had expressed a need for additional need for math interventionalists. And as a matter of ongoing with these type of presentations, can we also respond to where we're at with their requests in terms of what they've identified as additional needs?
We can, but I can say as someone who sits on the finance committee that right now we don't have additional funding. We can look at grant funding, but I think to answer your question, yes.
I
Yes.
think if it comes to the board and is available to the public, that's
Sure.
a good need. Okay.
Okay.
And so we can start with that one next time.
Yes, that
being
would
that
be
yours is
great.
independent. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great evening.
I'm always excited to see the middle of the year data,
Oh, me too.
especially from the elementaries,
Mhm.
because
They
that's
grow
just
so
where,
much.
yeah, just between the beginning of the year and the middle of the year. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that moves us to item 5, action items. Item A, approval of minutes of the regular board meeting of September 23rd, 2024. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes from the September 23rd, 2024 meeting.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, I'll go ahead and call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that moves us to item B. Approval of the RFP 2024 -08-27 SLI school-based sign language interpreter services.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, and Mr. Corey. A couple of weeks ago, I came before you guys requesting to go out for bid for a couple of items. First one here is we got bids for a sign language interpreter services. We got one bid. Members of the evaluation committee was Erica, Teresa Villa, and Jacqueline Riley. The one bid was ASL Request LLC. They met all aspects of the scope. Their packet was complete. So at this time, I confer approval of my recommendation to go with ASL Request to provide sign language services.
Any
Mis-
questions?
Mr. Corey has any comments on it? Okay.
Okay, I'll,
I do not, my only comment is I recommend that we approve it.
okay. I'll entertain a motion then.
I move that we approve the RFP 2024-0827 SLI for school board sign language interpreter services.
Okay, do I have a second?
A second.
All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, that moves us to item C. Approval of the RFP 2024-09-03 PT, school-based physical therapy services.
Thank you. Same thing. We went out for bid seeking physical therapy services. Evaluation committee met on September 25th. That was Jordan Martinez, Teresa Villa, and Erica Luckhurst. We received one offer from Abeta Physical Therapy. Met all aspects, scope of the work, and at this time I recommend going with Abeta Physical Therapy as well.
And are they local?
Yes, they're local and they've been providing services already. So,
Okay,
I think they provide services in Silver too.
okay, all right.
yeah, they're local.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move that we approve the RFP 2024-0903 PT, the school-based physical therapy services provided by Abeta.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know about that sweater, but have a good evening. All right. That moves us to item D, approval of bills. So we did not have a finance committee meeting, because two members, one was sick, our community member was sick, and then our school board member, was not able to make it either. And so this was sent out to us, via email. So it's my recommendation that we approve the bills.
Yes, it was sent to the committee for review, and I asked if anybody had any questions, concerns, anything with it, to just let me know. So it was reviewed by the finance committee, everything before you here.
I move that we approve the bills as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. That moves us to item E, approval of the initial budget 26-107 education fellows.
Okay, this budget adjustment request you have in front of you, it's for initial budget for the Education Fellows Program we have through the REC. And you all are familiar with this program. We have been approved for nine positions. Right now we have 5, and we have the ability to take on a few more. So, but this is putting in place the full budget for the year for that program. It includes salary, benefits, and some supplies that we're allowed to purchase for them.
Any
And
questions? Go ahead.
Do we have
Mr.
a pipeline for the 5? Anybody in the pipeline for the 5 positions that are open? Oh, I'm sorry, 4. I'm sorry, yes.
And we put it out there on our Facebook, we even, put it out at the university, but we don't.
Yeah, we continue to advertise. Every time we put out vacancy notices,
I've even
it's on
called
there.
the college, and I did now, but no takers yet.
I have have a question. It came to my attention that one of the fellows did resign,
Yes, ma'am.
so we still have 5?
Yes, we had 6 at the beginning of the year, now we have 5.
I just think it's such an excellent
I know.
program. How could we be having difficulty finding this? And are we looking at people that have graduated from here and are going to school, starting school, from the last class that just graduated?
Probably not. I did, like I said, I did call the college and let them know, and they know about the programs.
It's just hard. There's a teacher shortage everywhere.
Not
It's
a lot of people
even,
that wanna go into it.
even the traditional teacher route is, they're having a hard time recruiting teachers right now.
Even the enrollment for the teacher prep programs, it's just decreasing at the university. I mean, every year the cohort is getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
But you would think that this incentive in terms of not having to pay for school, getting a stipend for attending school, and then getting paid wages for being in the classrooms would be a good way to fill those holes.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a great program, but
It
just no one is wanting to go into teaching right now.
I think that-
Unfortunately, I mean, we need teachers.
They're not like, a lot of the students, like, in the cohorts at Western aren't like traditional, like, they didn't just graduate and went straight to college. A lot of them are, like, going back, like, they already have families and things like that. And I've heard just, like, sometimes, like, they have to keep their jobs, their day jobs, and then they just go to school, like, online, but because they have other priorities, like children and things like that.
Where are we in the innovations programs for making pathways to becoming a teacher? Becoming a teacher?
We ended up dropping that pathway. There wasn't, again, there just wasn't enough kiddos interested in that pathway.
Wow.
Don't
I
get
did
us all
recruit-
sad.
I did recruit one of our EAs, that's what we need to be doing, is recruiting those good EAs. And, I recruited one, we moved her over last year, and she's doing great, she's on the honor roll this year. She just sent me a picture of, the invitation that she got for the honor roll. So, I think that's our best route, is to look at those EAs, if we feel that they would be a good teacher, is push them to go to college. And we have a couple that, are going to college now, but they have a better opportunity through other grants. They're like, no, I'm getting this grant pays more, I'm not gonna do that.
Okay. And we don't know if it's a long-term program, right? Because the funding was up, it was questionable this fiscal year. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move we approve the funding for the educational fellows.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, that's approved. That moves us to item F, approval of a budget transfer, 27-149 pre-K. Mr. Ryan?
Okay, this transfer that you have in front of you, this is just, this is coming from PED. They want me to reclassify a salary. When I built the budget, we have a coordinator in our pre-K program who's working with all the teachers. And I had budgeted her in the teacher's line, but they want me to move it to a different function and a different line. So that's what this is for. It's just moving a salary from one function to another function. So it's just transferring is all it is. So no increase, no decrease, just moving around.
Okay. Any questions?
Nothing.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move that we approve the budget transfer.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Moves us to item G, approval of initial budget 27 536 summer reading program, transportation. Mr.
Okay.
Ryan?
Okay, this initial budget you have before you, the reason for this is we had the summer reading program in June, and it ran, 3 days into July this past year. And PED originally gave us a budget last year of $20,000 for this, but then when it came down to it, they are only giving us $2,669. And they sent us this money in the current fiscal year. We had a budget in place last fiscal year, and they sent it to us this year, so we have to put a budget in place for it now. So, this is kind of to provide these services. Our transportation contractor billed us $6,500, but the state is only funding us $2,669. So, this is to put this budget in place so I can go ahead and pay out this money that the state sent us. And I recommend you approve it.
Any questions?
So we still remain in a deficit then for that?
That's all that they funded for this program.
And the 4,000 that is remaining is funded?
We have to come through district funds.
And this is for last year? Or is this
No.
for July part?
It was for June and July.
So June being last year and
Yes.
a fraction of it being July?
Yes.
I just find it kind of strange that we're paying for something for last year out of this year's budget.
Well, PED is a little bit behind. If PED had given us these numbers, then, we didn't know what they were going to fund whatsoever. This was a new program, and this stuff didn't come about. They didn't get us this
This one-
information till now.
Is this one of those that they don't have any explanation, just,
Yes, I tried to get some sort of formula out of them, how they arrived at these numbers. And I think what they did is they just had so much money to divvy up to everybody. And they just kind of based it, because we had to report to them the number of miles that were driven and the number of days and so on. And I think what they did, they just divvied up that pot statewide, saying, okay, this is what you get.
at yesterday's function with the Education Committee, we had some discussions, and the rural funding was one very well highlighted, but just the fact that they do this kind of stuff doesn't really have good sound footing.
Right.
So,
And are we looking at participating in this next year? I know there was a lot of difficulty with getting our teachers paid for this summer program too. And then curriculum being delayed 2-3 weeks. Are we looking at still participating? Even with all the hiccups and now the short change of transportation?
Yeah, when it was all said and done, at the beginning, it was very hectic, I'm not gonna lie. Our curriculum came in not 2 weeks late, it was only 4 days late. And we did it for 6 weeks. But the teachers, for the first week, they're like, I asked them every day, we had a meeting every day. By the end, I said, would you guys do it again? They said, yeah. So at the end, the first 2 weeks were very, very stressful. But at the end, they're like, yeah, I'd do it again. And we ended up picking a different curriculum because we could have picked a curriculum, we could have picked Reading Horizons, and we do Reading Horizons. And I said, let's try something different. That way we get a good feeling for other things that are out there. So we did magnetic reading, which is for iReady. They loved it, which was also a success, I felt. Okay, if we ever have to change curriculums, we might want to look at iReady, right, in ELA. And we did, with their pay, they got their pay. I mean, they were fine. It's just that they didn't input some of their information incorrectly to the Pearl platform. So that got a little tricky because the Pearl platform wasn't as easy as it should have been. But all in all, at the end, they all said, yeah, I would do it again. Because they only had to teach 4 or 5 kids.
Okay.
They got their hourly rate teaching 4 or 5 kids for 6 weeks. And they felt they really made a difference. And the data did show that. Now, we were very concerned when we saw the 2,000 in the bus, and the invoice was almost 10,000. And I don't know what happened on that. So next year, I mean, if we do it, I'm not sure what we're going to do about busing. But But we do need to do, I mean, we have to do a summer school program. We do. They did push out high-impact tutoring. I don't know if you two saw that. Of course, last minute, they had ESSER funds they had to spend in the next 6 weeks. Of course, I'm going to try it, so I sent that out to the staff. We had 8 interested. And with those 8, after I gave them more information on the training, because the training was during their fall break, they still would have been paid their hour, paid $35 an hour because it was off-contract time during their fall break, but they already had plans. This is what happens when the PED pushes something in last minute. I think if the training was a couple of weeks before, we probably would have had more people attend. So that dwindled down quickly from 8 to 1. So I had 1 person attend the program for the high-impact tutoring, which started this week. But then that staff member has now been changed, is now in a different position. So now we're not even going to be able to do high-end. And then I talked to the CLSD coordinators today about that. We had our visit, and they were like, we understand. When things come up and you only have a week or 2 to prepare, you're not going to get a lot of people sign up for it.
Well, and that's not on us, that's on
No,
PED.
it is on
and
PED.
their poor planning.
Right. So hopefully they've learned from this summer that next summer, if they do this program, they've got to be a little more organized about it. But CLSD said they might not have the monies to do a big program like that.
Okay, thank
You
you.
know, one more thing about this program too is the district had to supplement the pay for these teachers to make it worth their while.
Yes.
And fortunately, we did have the ESSER funds at the time still, and we used those money to supplement their pay, but that money is gone now. So if we do pursue this next year, we'll have to look at alternate sources of funds to supplement their pay.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move that we approve the summer reading program transportation funding request.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. That moves us to item H, approval of our fourth quarter financial report. Mr.
Okay.
Ryan?
What you have here in front of you is the report that goes into PED, and this is our financial report for year end of the 2020 through 2024 year. We have and I have before you, I have a cash report, I have an expenditure budget balance report, and a revenue report. And also, the last one that you have is just my own report that I use internally to make sure that everything balances out. On the cash report, we started the year, and this is overall, we started the year with $2,370,000. We had $31,456,000 in revenue, $29,298 in expenses, and we ended the year with $4,529,000. One of the big things that really why we increased cash-wise is because we issued the educational technology note, so that is cash that we have as of June 30th that is out there to be spent still. But that was one of the big items that why our cash balance went up. And it was everything here balances out, everything falls into place, and I sent this to the finance committee for review. And we'll probably discuss it again in our upcoming finance committee meeting. So if you have any questions on it.
I have a question in terms of what you just said in terms of the technology bond money going into the cash balance. Is that somehow offsetting regular operating funds?
No, I'm talking total cash right here. This is total. This is everything we have.
Okay. And so the 2 pages that I'm seeing, this is the fourth quarter report?
Yes.
I don't see how it balances. I mean, you have deficits of $1.5 million in certain line items,
Right.
and half a
A
million.
lot of the PED grants are on a reimbursable basis. So that's why they're gonna show negative, is because you have to spend the money and then you submit for it from PED. So those are gonna show negatives.
And those are all our grants right there.
Yes, yes.
The
Right,
Title
those are all the
I,
flow
rural
through.
and low-income schools, Carl Perkins.
Yes, those are all on a reimbursement basis.
Okay, the other question is, are we supposed to have the first quarter report for this school year at this time?
Yeah, we'll have it here. It's, our quarter just ended September 30th.
Okay, and so, okay, so that will be in our at our next board meeting, or is
It'll
it
be
supposed to
soon. It'll be as soon as we get it finalized.
And in that case, you'll have, it broken out where we can actually see where, you know, where we were last year, where we are now, and, where we expect to be.
PED doesn't require that information on, you know, anything like that, but, you know, we'll see if we could put something together. But, what I'm giving you is what PED requires, that we report to them.
But without any historical data, that's really hard
No,
for us to make.
PED doesn't look at the historical data.
But for not having any historical data, it's very difficult for us to make any kind of assessment as to where we're at now and where we're going. So I would appreciate that, that data.
Yeah, okay.
Isn't there a deadline for the fourth quarter financial report?
Excuse me?
Isn't there a deadline?
Yes. It's
Oh,
July 31st.
so why are we seeing it right now instead of August, September? You don't have a deadline?
Well, to submit to them, that's submitted to them.
So you submit to them and then come back to approval for the
Yes,
board?
yes.
Is that always been
And it's not
like-
necessarily an approval for the board, it's to reporting to the board. It's reporting this information to the board.
Thank you.
So you don't have approval of the board, by the board before you send it to PED?
No, it's not required.
It's not required? So at this point, we're not approving this?
Yeah, it's an action item here to approve it.
Why will we be approving it after you've submitted it?
There's not a reason to approve it beforehand.
And there's probably not a reason for us to approve it afterwards.
Yeah, so we could just report it as it doesn't really necessarily have to be an action item, we could put it just as a report, if that's gonna be the case.
I think if we don't have to approve it, just
Yeah,
include it in your
just
report.
as an informational item as a report.
I prefer it that way.
Okay. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to table, remove, I don't,
Make a motion to just accept this as a report.
okay, is there a second to accept this as a report?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? I'm sorry, any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, accepting it as a report. That moves us to item 6, new business. And it looks like Mrs. Grijalva was able to somewhat explain the cost of milk for students. Item 7, Finance Committee report. As I said, we didn't have one because our community member was sick, and then one of our other board members wasn't able to attend. So I'm hoping this next finance meeting will have everyone back, healthy and ready to go. Item 8, our Audit Committee report.
The audit committee met twice, and it met yesterday and a week before that, on Wednesday, I believe. And there were, the superintendent and the director of finance they were both absent on the meeting that was held a week ago. So we weren't able to put in any timeframes or people that were responsible for corrections in our committee's recommendations. And so yesterday we met, and we've decided that it's more expedient to go with the administration's plan of corrections, and we would follow up rather than going down this route continuously, that we want to put that to an end, and move forward to finalize and approve the audits, and then we'll go forward the policies that we have for addressing the areas where we find that they can be strengthened, or they can come more in compliance as we put together ideas and make that part of our policies, as well as requiring the establishment of operational procedures by administration.
Okay, any questions?
And one more thing, and the report on the audits that are still not going to be done on time is that 2022, 2023, and 2024. It's of significant concern, and we've asked Mr. Superintendent Corey to make a presentation on that, particularly how that pertains to the eligibility for any capital funds for building a new school, how that impacts that at the next meeting.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, that moves us to our board members' report. Mrs. Harden, do you have anything?
Yes, I'd like to thank the public for participating on the homecoming parade and the participants. It was awesome seeing them, just seeing the people there. It was just really awesome.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Heredia?
I'll just echo the comment made by Mrs. Harden. Just thank you to everyone that participates in the parade and the entire homecoming week to make it such a success. There's so many traditions that Cobre has that are so special, and it just takes so many special people to put on such a great event every year, especially all the teachers that have to stay after, decorating floats or preparing for the homecoming dance and all the extra things they do. And I think that's it.
Just kind of want to echo the same things. I want to thank Mrs. Carol Heredia. She asked me to judge the homecoming floats, and I enjoy doing that. I think this is my third year doing it, and so I really enjoy seeing the kids, and the cheerleaders did a great job today. At the Bayard Elementary cheerleaders, the Snell Middle School cheerleaders, and then the high school cheerleaders. So a lot of cheerleaders today, but it was great. I also wanted to thank Freeport and Western New Mexico University and the Legislative Education Study Committee. They invited us to a dinner yesterday, and so it was nice to talk with other people about education and the things that the Education Study Committee is working on. We had the pleasure to actually sit with their interim executive director, and so I know Ms. Heredia and Mr. Guadiana talked to him at length, and it was just nice to also see Silver School Board members there, and just really the community coming together and talking about education and kids. So it was really, really nice.
I would like to echo on both parts, and I did get a lot of time to talk to the interim director for the education study, and that we went back to even discussing where we are in the circle of Department of Public Education Department just going in and out. We're now on the sixth secretary, and so they understand the concern. But we're also looking at the structures that existed before that. Like, for instance, constitutionally, there was a state school board and no public education department. Then that shifted into a public education department that was independent of the governor. And then it came to where we're at now. And so it seems like there's good enough data to take a look at which is more effective and which is not. So that's an interesting conversations. And they went from that down to how come we didn't get the rural, the district that's available for rural, the funding that's available for rural districts. And there was really the amazing thing was that there was an acknowledgement that there was no way that they knew how it was computed. And they recognized that it seems to be done inappropriately, but no action is forthcoming at this point. So having those discussions and having them understand that we know that, I think, is an interesting dynamic that was provided there. And their receptiveness of it was also a very good dynamic to see.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Terrazas?
Yeah, just real quick, just want to echo what the board member said about today's homecoming parade. And then another, this observation was the findings of the food service department. I mean, we need to get with the operations director, Victoria, we need to get that rectified. These are repeat findings, and that needs to be rectified ASAP.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Terrazas. That moves us to our superintendent's report. Item A, update on portable housing project. Mr. Corey?
Good evening. At the dinner last night, I was actually lucky enough to talk to Priscilla on this topic, and the funds, I think, are available. It's on our side that we need to get a quote. That we had a quote before, but it was not itemized. And so the contractor's working on getting an itemized quote to be able to submit to them so that we can receive the funding. So this project actually could go pretty quickly. As soon as that quote is available, I think we just need to turn it in, and I think funds could actually be released. So that's just a quick update on that project. Let's see, the next one is Beyond Textbooks. I don't know if any of you are aware of that program? No?
I've heard of it.
I've not.
You've heard of it?
Mhm.
So Beyond Textbooks, we had a presentation maybe a week ago, and it's a school district in Arizona. It's kind of below Tucson, Vail, and it was just kind of one of those that they were the lowest performing school in the state of Arizona, and they were just kind of tired of it. And they finally decided to put a system together to bring them up. And in the process of doing that, they developed this system, and it was kind of like the neighboring districts, like, hey, we would like that, and it kind of just started snowballing. And so it's literally a school district that has put this together, and it keeps growing as far as resources. But what it does for teachers is we will enter our calendar we will give them our calendar on a number of instructional days. They'll build their scope and sequence off of our own calendar on how long we can stay on each standard. And then it's all off of Common Core standards, and then it has a breakdown of the standard, and it's in the student version and teacher version, and then it just continues down to resources, and then what each level of student learning would look like. So it has examples of like level 1, the students kind of grasping, and it gives examples all the way up, I think, to level 4. And then the other part I really like is the teachers that are on this program, and it's all over the nation now, can put in resources that other teachers have created to teach the lesson. And we, of course, went through and, we could pick any, I've been digging through it for the last probably week or so, and it is amazing, how it can make life a lot easier and handle a lot of the things that, we struggle as a smaller district, not having the resources to build, scope and sequence for all of our subject areas. And a lot of these things would be solved, and it also would be an excellent resource for our educators. So I just want to kind of give you a heads up on the program. We had a presentation, the principals love it, and it's probably something we're going to look into and probably move forward with. You have any questions on that one?
How much does it cost?
Ms. Chavita, I don't have my papers here in
Right.
front of me. You have a,
Yes, I remember. So if we start in January, we will have a invoice of about 13,000 for the remainder of the year. The second year will be about 30,000, and then the third year will be about 15,000, and that is how much it will be moving forward, 15. The reason why the second year is about 30,000, that's when most of the training happens. So that 30,000 includes the training.
Are we looking at, like the scope and sequence provided by PED on their website?
Right, and on the instructional scope?
Yes.
Yes, we are,
Okay,
yeah. So we'll marry the two.
okay.
Definitely.
And would we go roll out district-wide, or would it be, like a pilot school?
Well, we were going to pilot the middle and the high. That's where we have the issues, and that's where we have the teachers coming to us with, we need more resources. We don't have time to come up with, this scope. And then I talked to the vendor, and he said, you know what, we can add the elementaries for an extra 3,000. We
Okay.
thought, we might as well. Let's see
Roll
what
it out
what it's
district-wide?
Let's go ahead and see what it's like. We can say after we've played with it for 6 months, we don't have to go with everybody in August. We can just stick with the middle and the high. So that's why we wanted to do a soft rollout from January to August with everybody, and then we'll see what the following year, what we'll do.
And this will be for every grade level, every
It's for
subject?
every grade level. And the nice thing about this resource is if you want to do acceleration, all the teachers have access to the grade above and the grade below.
And it's for all subject areas?
All subject areas, except for CTEC,
Okay,
things
right.
like that.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's great.
Yeah.
Mr. Ryan, what does this do to the budget?
Taking it out of instructional materials.
Yes, we do have instructional materials.
Funding that this would fall under.
Is there a district in the state that's employing this or multiple districts?
Yes, sir. I think there's 3, right, Mr. Corey, in the state right
Yeah,
now?
so, I don't know if you guys noticed, but when we were at our meeting in Animas, I got up and talked to one of the superintendents for quite some time at the back of the room, and it was the Kamado superintendent, and they had used this program, I want to say they're on 7 or 8 years. And one of the ladies that we talked to out of Kamado said if she ever had to leave the district, the only thing she would take with her is the Beyond textbooks. They love it, and they said it's made a huge difference. And they said for new teachers, it's really helped them build up new teachers, and then it's made life a lot easier for experienced teachers, just being able to have the resources, there ready to go and at, literally touch of a button. And when we were able to go through and look through it, wow, it's just unbelievable. Teaching a standard, I think I hit one that probably had 60 resources. Some were full PowerPoint presentations, all the way to exit tickets, to mini tests, all kinds of different things that you could use. And instead of a teacher having to go create these things or look for these things, they're all there, and it's ready for them.
And you,
I think another thing we struggle with a little bit is that teachers don't know how long to stay on a standard. And this kind of gets that scope and sequence going to where we're able to complete curriculums, where sometimes I know we get to the end of the year and we're like, oop, I didn't have time to get to this, or I didn't have time to get to that. And if you stay on track, you'll be able to get
Does this have to be approved by the board?
This is, I'm just doing saying it's like a presentation to let you know of the things that we're doing. This would be like a supplement, to, so to answer your question, no, it would not need to be approved by the board. It would be a supplement to what we're using now.
How is it not a change versus just a supplement? Or are semantically they the same as being a change?
Wouldn't it be a,
How is this?
wouldn't it be a resource? Like a like almost like a curriculum, but more like a teacher resource? For every teacher in the district, each grade level, no one is singled out, special education.
Right, it's not, it will not be the core curriculum.
Right, but
They
it'll-
still have their core curriculum.
But this will help them find
They-
additional resources.
Additional resources.
Keep them on track to hit all the
Exactly.
power
Mhm.
standards.
Right, the essential standards. Mhm.
Thank you.
And everything is vetted, you said, Mr. Corey, within the resources?
It is, and I apologize, I didn't finish my story, is the school district went to number one in the state of Arizona and has been there for a really long time. They laughed because their neighboring district that, kind of joined in with them, they bounced back between number one and number two, so they've been a little sad that they shared their secret sauce. They're not, they're educators, they love sharing. But, they were sad that their neighboring district beat them out of the number one spot, and they're the ones that gave them the, the resources to do it. So, it's just something that, I think we struggle as a small district not being able to do some of those things, is building, resources and doing scope and sequences, and if those are together and ready for our teachers, a lot of school districts will bring their teachers in the summer and be able to pay them to do some of these activities. And, we have not, for many years, had the finances to do that. So I just think this is gonna be a nice package, to put in place that will be very, teacher friendly, that is gonna help us across the board. Any other questions on that?
No.
No, thank you.
And, if I remember, I don't know where it's at, maybe, Ms. Chalita, if you could help me, you could send the login, to the board, to where they can go in and look at it.
Yes, I will do that. I think the demo login is available for another couple of days, so you'll have to do it pretty quickly.
Okay.
Okay. I'll do that right now.
But that way you guys could look at it, and especially, the grade level that you're teaching, and it would show you resources, that it'll make a lot of sense. You just start clicking, and, you'll see what we're talking about. Number C, letter C, sorry, staff evaluation, we sent those out, Charlene, thank you for getting those out. They came back in on the 15th, and it will be compiled and ready for our next board meeting. So it will be an agenda item on the next board meeting, to share, the results of the evaluation.
And I'm sorry, Charlene, I didn't get mine done, so I will submit it to you.
Okay, these were the ones that were for,
To
sent
staff.
out to staff.
Yeah,
I thought you sent us an email about it, though.
I think it was
Or was it?
informational.
Okay, okay. I was like, I didn't do it.
I sent it to you prior to sending it out to staff, just so you know what you're sending.
Okay.
So it was them, evaluating the board.
And Mr. Corey. Okay,
These two comments.
sounds good. Okay. And could we maybe move that to the November board meeting? I'm not gonna be able to attend the next one, but I'd really like to know the data and see what came of it, if possible.
And I don't know if we've talked about this or not, but we got two board meetings stacked together, one week after the week coming up.
And then we're scheduled for the 28th of October, and then following week is another one on November the 4th. So that's what we want.
Why would we have one on November the 4th?
I'm not sure, that's just the way it's come out on the calendar.
It should be the second Monday. so that couldn't be the second Monday.
So we need to change that.
Yeah, yeah.
Or we keep that one and not do the 28th, which would benefit me.
I'm fine with the, keeping November 4th.
However you all wanna do it.
I'm kind of wanting to stay with what the public anticipates.
Oh, I know why we did that, because of Thanksgiving, the thanks,
Some of the holidays, the holidays are falling in November and
I think that's why we did it.
Yeah, I think it was because of the Thanksgiving break. We wouldn't be able to meet during the break.
And then I think Veterans Day too. If I'm remembering correctly. So is everyone okay with that? Doing November 4th rather than October 28th, or do we want to keep our October 28th?
November 4th works for me.
David, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, whatever's available, fine.
Mr. Guadiana?
Just as a heads up, November 4th, I will not be present if we have a meeting that night.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Okay.
So I'm better for the October, to having the second and fourth Monday, without, unless there was the Indigenous Day, which we moved to accommodate, and there is no reason to move the second, the fourth Monday that I can think of.
It's for the Thanksgiving holiday in November.
We
We
moved
don't-
it so it wouldn't be on the Thanksgiving break.
Okay,
There would be
wait a
no
minute.
staff
I thought
here.
we were talking October 20.
No, you were asking why we were having a November 4th meeting. It's to accommodate the November holiday schedule.
Okay, the Thanksgiving is on what day?
That whole week,
Yeah,
we're off.
We're out that whole week.
That's, but that is why we moved the board meeting to the first week of November. You
And so-
asked why we did that. So that's what we're trying to explain to you, why we did what we did. Cause I think we talked about it at a board meeting, when we were discussing
did.
this. When-
Yeah, we decided we didn't want to meet during the Thanksgiving break.
We were trying to accommodate, yes.
Right, and then the Monday before that would have been Veterans Day, and we didn't want to meet on that day either.
So we were trying to accommodate all these holidays.
Yeah.
Or work around them, is what we all are trying to.
So, we're still gonna meet on on October 28th, then, right?
Well, I'm asking if we should just cancel that and meet November 4th.
Mr. Corey's
What
not
would
gonna
that have
be
to
here.
do with Thanksgiving?
No, I'm
Oh,
just
we were-
saying for the sake, because I don't think we should meet the following week, November 4th, if we're not gonna have a whole lot of stuff to meet on. That's the point I'm trying to
We're
make.
saying like the 28th and the 4th is only 1 week. Do we need to keep both meetings if we're meeting the 28th and then on the 4th, or can we just keep the 4th?
And not meet the 28th.
The second Monday in November is the 11th.
Yes. We can, we decided not to meet on that day because it's Veterans Day.
So it's Veterans Day?
And the following would be Thanksgiving break.
The 18th is not, I mean,
Yep,
it's the week after that,
Yep.
25th. So maybe you might wanna just wait and do it on the 18th.
So if we meet on the 28th of October, then I propose that we wait for our November meeting until the 18th.
Okay.
But if everyone's in agreement with canceling, October 28th and meeting November 4th and November 18th, that would still get us our 2 meetings in November. So whatever everyone wants to decide.
I think. This is, I think,
And we all discussed this. This was a whole board discussion twice on our
Twice when we
calendars.
vote- Yep.
What about the 28th and the 18th? Like Suzanne said.
I'm fine with that, but I'm asking that we move the board evaluation and superintendent evaluation to the November 18th because I'm not able to be at this next meeting.
That's fine.
Okay, then I'm
I
fine.
agree.
I'm fine with that too. That's why we're having a discussion. And then we're trying to clarify that we discussed this as a board of why we moved our November meeting to accommodate Veterans Day and then the Thanksgiving holiday.
Right.
We decided that during the board retreat.
It was before too. Mhm.
And then I think the same thing for December. We're only having one meeting because of the holiday. Okay, sounds good. So I guess we'll keep our October 28th meeting and then cancel the 4th and just keep our 18th.
And you're not gonna be here the 28th?
I won't be here the
Okay,
28th,
and Mr. Corey the 4th. Okay.
but it won't affect.
No, it
It
won't
won't,
affect
it won't affect.
this, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Sorry about that, Mr. Corey.
No worries, sorry, my computer's dying here, I'm gonna plug it off with. And then, well, and final thing is fundraisers are in your packet. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Corey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that moves us to item 11. Executive session notice is hereby given so that the Cobre Board of Education will meet in executive session for the following purpose. Item A, pursuant to section 10-15-1H of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, section 126-5 of the New Mexico Audit Act, and 2.2.215A3 NMAC for the board to discuss with the special auditor progress of finalizing the special audit. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we go into executive session.
Do I have a second?
I'll
Second.
Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Mrs. Harden,
Yes.
Ms. Heredia,
Yes.
Secretary Terrazas,
Yes.
Vice President Guadiana,
Yes.
and myself, yes. We are in executive session at 6:58 PM. Of the executive session for a statement affirming that no action was taken in executive session and that discussions were limited to the special audit as specified in the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to come back into open session.
I move that we come back.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Thank you. Do a roll call vote. Mrs. Harden?
Yes.
Ms. Heredia?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Vice President Guadiana?
Yes.
Okay, we are back in open session at 7:38 PM. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, we are adjourned at 7:38 PM. Thank you.